Good morning.
Morning.
It's been a long time since I've done this, and while I don't want to have some of you think that I'm just taking over, but I am. A few weeks ago, I mentioned to Diane, Reverend Diane, that if you ever need somebody to talk, I do have some ideas I want to share. 2 days later, she called me. So here we are. And because of the weather, the bravest are here. Yeah. Well, the bravest are here. We light this candle. Some of us call it the unity candle. Some of us call it the Christ candle. It represents the same thing. It's the Spirit within us that leads us, that gives us life, that helps us be sustained by spirituality, growth, and adventure.
Hello, everyone. The daily word today is guidance. Divine wisdom helps me discover my unique spiritual path. Tending to my spiritual life keeps me attentive to the whispers of my heart and in tune with my guidance. I am grateful for those moments I can rely upon my spiritual intuition to discern my path forward. But sometimes my guidance feels far away and hard for me to access on my own. At those times, I may seek the assistance of my trusted friends and advisors. I may seek the wise counsel of my minister or a spiritual counselor who encourages me to discover the wisdom found in the depths of my own consciousness. She, he, or they pray with me. Listen with empathy and share my joy with my innate wisdom leads me along my unique spiritual path. I am grateful for those who walk the path along me. In John 14:26, but the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all I have said to you.
Thank you, Edward. You do that so well. Glad you are here. On the front of the cover, on the bulletin cover, you'll see the interior of a bridge. Most of the time when we think of a bridge, we conjure up these constructions of steel or wood or whatever, and we see them from the outside, and rarely do we go on the inside of the bridge. I was looking for a photograph that I took, probably 40 years ago. It was at the Park County Bridge Festival in Park County, Indiana, and I was taking a photography class at the time, and of course I had my shutterbug with me, and I like to work in black and white. And I took this photo, and I was trying to find it for the cover, and I couldn't find it. And I thought, well, I'll Google images of bridges. And I still couldn't find one that I really, really wanted to use. And so then I Googled Park County Bridge Festival, and boom, bingo, there it was. And they had the names on the bridges and the dates that they were built and when they arrived there. And lo and behold, it was the same bridge. And so it was a color photo. And I tried to make it black and white, and I decided, no, there was the warmth of the colors and the clarity within the structure, parts of the structure were more inviting when it was in color. So I used it. That photograph is not the one I took. The one I took is buried someplace. But I chose to use this one, and here we are. And I have to ask you this question. How many of you, don't raise, if I'm going to be asking lots of questions today, don't raise your hand. I'm not trying to have anyone be singled out or anything like that. But did you encounter any bridges on your way here today? We'll talk about it. Does anyone have anything to share with us? If you're new and you would like to introduce yourself, fine. Don't be timid around here. We don't have timid folks here. But if you are, just raise your hand and let us know you're new, and we'll get to you downstairs in Fellowship Hall. And please sign our guest registry. We won't send you a barrage of information and begging you. It's just because we like to know who's been here. Who was that man? Okay. Today is the day for dismantling the Christmas decorations. And so when you leave here, with the exception of the tree, when you leave here, will you carry some things downstairs? And there are tables marked for those items. One is marked Sanctuary, one is marked Fellowship Hall, one is marked Breezeway. And if you would please comply and be able to help with this, it really saves a lot of legwork. And there are many of us who have some challenges going up and down steps. And if we just all pitch in, we can get it done. I'm not asking you to box it up. I'm just wanting you to carry it down. So thank you ahead of time. Let's try to get warmed up by singing number 72, Open My Eyes That I May See. Stand if you can. Sing out, I know you can. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. place in my hands the wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my ears that I may hear voices of truth thou sendest clear. And while the wave notes fall on my ear, everything false will disappear. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my ears, illumine me, Spirit divine. Open my mouth and let me bear gladly the warm truth everywhere. Open my heart and let me prepare love with thy children thus to share. Silently now I wait for thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my heart, illumine me, Spirit divine. Well, I was a little ahead of myself in the sharing, so has anybody got any courage in the meantime? Okay, we will move on. Time to sing another one. 222. My life begins for me today. And if you don't know the words, I'm sure you'll recognize the melody. It's an old standard hymn. 222. My life begins for me today, new worlds before me lie. The yesterdays have passed away, no more to cause a sigh. Before the lies the bright today, all blessings in for hold. And I rejoice to find life's way and sing its joys untold. Today for me begins anew, a life that holds for me all that is good and real and true. Its blessings now I see. I look no longer to the past, nor wait for future days. For with today my lot is cast, its present joy I praise. The idea of bridges has been a lot in my mind lately. Actually, I've given this talk about 4 or 5 times, but you weren't there to listen. Anyway, and the reason for some of that concept of bridges that's been around is because, I suppose it's part of it to do with the new year approaching, part of what we've done and been through over the last couple of years, both publicly and privately. And some of us have this urge to move on. Let's go for something new. Let's go for something better, stronger, wiser. Most often when we think of a bridge, we think of the construction of steel and wood. We think that we see a bridge, from the beginning and at the end of it. But you know, some bridges have a hill in the middle. In fact, I think most of them do because it helps to maintain their strength. I'm going to try not to read this, but bear with me. Aside from the concrete, let me turn this, bridges, there are all kinds of bridges out there. And if you're a musician, you think about the bridge in music, the written music and the music that's sung. And that's the part of the music where there's a change, a very significant change. Sometimes it can be in the key, the tempo, the thought expressed. And then it goes back to being a continuum of what might have been at the beginning. Large compositions, particularly classical types of music, have movements. You know, and if you're at a concert where one of those is being played, you're not supposed to play at the end of one movement. There's a pause, and then the conductor gets them to going on into the next movement. There are bridges on instruments. Pianos have bridges, guitars, violins. It's a part of that instrument where the strings lie over and they're built up a bit. And it's where it helps to maintain a separation of those strings, but it also carries the vibration, which is sound, to a bigger area, which is often referred to as the soundboard. And even violins and guitars have a kind of soundboard on the backside. That's why there's a hole in them, so that the vibration in the air can carry it. That said, and because we are a part of unity and we're thinkers and seekers of truth, we think about bridges in a metaphoric way, in a symbolic way. Sometimes, in a literal sense, bridges are used to release or begin new lives, release old lives. And so you find people standing on bridges to say their farewells, tossing wreaths or flowers in the water. It's about passage. Passage of time and events that create an essence of of connecting things. Bridge can be also a verb, a noun, and an adjective. It all depends on how it's used. Of the many kinds of bridges, we surely must include the non-concrete bridges, the kind that deals with our own personal and often very private movement through our lives. We have just gone through a month of celebration, anticipating Christmas, anticipating rebirth, due to the birth of the Spirit within us and that came through us by a boy who taught us the way, our way shower, our brother. The metaphoric and metaphysical bridges are endless. We could just attach all kinds of meanings to them. If we can simply define a bridge as something that helps us measure a quantity of time and a movement therein, then we can use our imagination and creativity and develop our own imagery. We could be here for another hour, but I'm going to leave all those things to you. One of the reasons I took that photo many years ago I was going to be using it for a unit in perspective. And if you look at the photo on the front, you can see where if you're standing at the beginning of that bridge and you're looking towards the end, everything looks like it converges into one point. That's 1 point perspective. If you step from one side to the other, or you back up, or you go forward, even a few inches of going from one side to another, your perspective changes. I mean, the lines in there change. I used to tell my students, when you go past a room, the room didn't move, you did. But your perspective, the way you saw things in that room changed. And our perspectives are always changing because we're always growing. There are things that influence our lives that make us see things differently. I'm not telling you anything, and I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. I just hope I can stir up a few memories. Some might be painful, but I hope that it's always going to be a help to you to be able to move forward. Our perspective on our own lives changes. It's different from the way others might see our lives. That's a given. We're on the inside of it. No two people can see the same thing the same way. We cannot occupy the same space at the same time, no matter if we're talking about this figuratively or literally. And I said our perspectives can change. When we look back at our past, do we see things differently than we did when we were in amongst the joys and the muck that we were dealing with? Of course it's changed. The influences on our bridges are many and varied. Our early home life, our families, the pecking order of siblings, our school life, our employments, our interests, health issues, activities, loves, hates, and passions. The input is ceaseless. We cannot truly see, we cannot truly live, and we cannot truly judge the bridges of and for another person. Where do the bridges begin and end? Sometimes we're unaware of our movement across bridges. Even though they exist, often they cannot be seen or measured. Figuratively or literally, sometimes the bridge begins in our minds when we know we're about to cross one. Everyone traveling to Grand Haven knows we have to go across that bridge. And we gauge our time depending on if it's the half hour or is there construction work going today? And it can really mess up our schedules. So we have to adjust our schedule before we begin. Sometimes we don't realize we have crossed a bridge until we take an introspective and retrospective look at our lives. Things we might see, then we might see the many bridges we have crossed. My 70th birthday was the most difficult birthday I've ever had. I don't know if you've had a birthday that's been that way, but it was quite a time for me to look within myself and ask the questions, did you accomplish what you set out to? What are the surprises along the way? What were the serendipitous things that led you to where you are now? Did you do your best? I mean, there's all kinds of questions that we have this self-examination. I had a woman tell me that when she turned 35, it was the most difficult because she thought her life was half over. And I said, you're only planning to live until 70? Oh, no. So, but we've kind of been led to feel that way through all kinds of exterior influences. Have you ever been stuck on a bridge? Louis used to drive big truck. And invariably, I would call him and I'd say, "Where are you?" "I'm in the middle of the bridge," which meant he was in the middle of the mighty back. He doesn't like heights. He doesn't like heights. And, you're focused and you're concentrating, and here you are in the middle of a bridge that you really don't like crossing, and you cannot stop, turn around, or anything. Nothing should distract you. "Okay, bye." End that call real quick. If you've been stuck on a bridge, what caused it? What caused you to be stuck? Are you stuck now? Why? Have you recently started across a bridge? Did you ever think of turning around? Go see Moses about that. I don't think everybody crossing that river really wanted to go, but there they went, and life was made anew. How long did it take you to realize that you had to keep moving? Did fear of the unknown influence your getting stuck? And you can take all of these questions and turn them into the present. Have you ever not crossed a bridge because you were afraid you might not make it across? Meaning that you might not be successful? The need or the desire for change has to be so strong that the fears have to be turned into faith. Have you not crossed a bridge because you were afraid you might not make it across? I think we've all done that. We've all turned down things because we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. We didn't want to take a chance for a variety of reasons: family, health, loved ones, costs. My father was once offered a job out west, and he had to turn it down, and he always wondered what it would have been like if life had, because we were struggling financially, and he often wondered what it would have been like if he had taken that job. And so when faced with a job in my future life, I told my loved one, "We're not going to go through that. Let's take the job and go find out. Can you return?" Sometimes you can. If you don't burn the bridge behind you. Sometimes people need to move on from friends and family for whatever reason, and they do so in such a painful and hurtful way that they feel they can never go back. I don't think that's really true. I think you can go back if you find a way to express the love, but sometimes it's kind of late because the people pass on and we didn't get to resolve something. Have you ever felt the need to resolve something with someone who caused you a lot of pain and grief in the past, and you can't because either they're not around or you don't think it's going to make any difference? We can't let that keep us. We can't let it freeze us. Take a chance to see if you can resolve something. If you can't, you have to move on. Have you ever not crossed a bridge because you're more comfortable where you are, even though you're not really comfortable? But you don't pursue moving because it's too much hard work. You don't know how to go about it. Maybe the job seems too big. Moving and wanting to grow and push yourself is hard work. Finding your own answers is hard work. A Unity minister once said to me, people don't always stay at Unity because, or when they come and then they leave because they find out that there's a lot of work involved here. There's nobody here telling you what to think and what to do and how to do it. However, we can help each other by sharing our experiences. But there's no document from Unity School of Christianity that tells you a certain way to believe. They want it to be open for you to explore. That takes a lot of work. How many of you have had a stranger come along and say something to you that just, whoo, put light in your face, a warm light? They brought you a piece of something from within their lives and their hearts, and they saw it in you. And while they were strangers to you, they don't know you, you must have looked or seen or said something and shared something with them that they could identify with. There was a time in my life when no matter what I tried, it seemed like I'd get up to a certain point and the rug would get pulled out from underneath me. I know you've all been there. It's so easy to blame all those other people. And I went for that proverbial walk. Okay, you put me here. What am I supposed to be doing? Because nothing I'm choosing is working out. And the thought that came into my head was, it was like somebody reached up and pulled the chain on the light, and the room lit up to go to school. And I was told I wasn't college material, and I had struggled so in high school, and I thought, what is this? But things I had been trying weren't working out. So I said, okay, I'll take one class. Now, you don't bargain with that which is greater than yourself, but I was trying to feel my way through it. And I hadn't taken the SAT tests or the ACTs, no college entrances, and I thought, okay, what is this going to be about? Anyway, the path led me, this idea led me to check on it. I was able to enroll, and every class I wanted was closed because I had to go as a non-admitted student and wait till the end. The class that was open was an art class, an art appreciation course. And so it was a course that a lot of people took, and there were about 150 students in this auditorium. And I thought, what are you doing here? But it just opened a new world for me. It was fascinating. And I was on the beginning of a new bridge. And looking back at the pieces of the parts of that journey, I was just knocking on the wrong door. It was no one else's fault. I wasn't ready. We can find in the archives of our experiences that nothing was wasted, nothing was lost, and nothing but our greater good was invested in us. It's hard to see that when you're going through it, but as you are looking back, can you see it now? Sometimes that is so difficult to see. Sometimes when we are least expecting it, someone comes along and kicks us in the behind, helping us to become unstuck. Sometimes it's a stranger. Sometimes it's a good friend. They see a quality in us that helps us discover or rediscover who we really are. And a stranger that I had encountered was in one of my classes, and I'm sitting there because I was complaining to another student that I thought I was going to withdraw because I was only making a C. And this other student turned around abruptly and said, "You, how dare you question and doubt yourself over a C? There are other students, so many of us, who would love to get C's. What are you going to do? Go back to where you were before you got here?" Cold water splashed in the face. Wake up. And every time I tried to pursue something outside of art, the world would kind of start crumbling, and I'd get back on the path. I taught art for 30 years. Don't regret any of it. Did you ever get fired from a job? Ouch. Sometimes it's the kick in the seat of the pants you needed because you didn't like where you were anyway. The boss doing the firing thought he or she was doing themselves a favor. Who was the true beneficiary? Every moment, every event, every person, every encounter, seen or unseen, has brought you to this moment, this day, in this space. We need to let go of what we think was bad or painful, or choose to be grateful for it has given us strength and character. I'll say that again because I think I messed it up. We need to let go of what we think was bad or negative or painful. Or we can choose to be grateful for that which has given us strength and character. Many times and many things and many people have caused us undeniable pain. We can become resentful. Resentment, as I said before, can cause us to get stuck. That anger. There's a saying about resentment that is truth, and those of us who've been a part of Unity for a while understand that truth is something that never changes. Circumstances change, but truth never changes. And here's this one. Resentment does more damage to the vessel in which it is stored than it does to the surface onto which it is poured. Once I witnessed a man asking forgiveness from someone he had caused much pain and suffering. The man who had been deeply hurt replied, "It is not I who forgives you, but the Spirit within me who does this work. Now move on and never return to my home again." We know that that home symbolized his mind, his thoughts, and his life. Both men were relieved of the burden. It is not I who forgives you, but the Spirit within me who does this work. Now move on and never return to my home again. The bridges, both great and small, carry us forward, and we are able to turn and help others because we endured, we survived, and we grew. God bless us, everyone. Thank you. Let's prepare for our time of meditation with number 215. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. again. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. Let's take this moment to take a deep breath. Take in as much air as you possibly can till your chest aches. And then release it ever so slowly. If you feel tense in your shoulders, raise them up as high as you can. And then lower them slowly and push down. And you'll feel the tension relax. Indeed, the Father and I are one. There are no bridges between us, no space, no time between us and our greater power, God, the good, omnipotent. That power, that spirit indwells each of us. There is no separation between us and spirit. The spirit within us and our minds work together. They work together because they're one. Knowing this, we are empowered to think, to move, and to have our being without fear of the unknown. That which is in us is greater than that on the outside. Our daily word reminds us that our guidance, our innate wisdom leads us along our unique spiritual path. Our choices of bridges are of no concern, for that which is greater, our source, is with us. We know and accept that we have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We let go of the bridges in our past, knowing that they are behind us. We have learned from them. We have become unstuck and look forward to gaining increased vision and wisdom from the past that appeared to hold us back. We move forward with confidence and grace in the right direction according to our needs. We love and respect ourselves and the world around us, and we are able to make wise choices. We are able to forgive ourselves and others for wrong choices. For it is the Father within us, the Spirit within us, that does the work. We do all these things with gratitude for divine guidance, divine order, and the future bridges that take us on our divine path. Oh, and we are aware of the beauty and the peace within and around us. Thank you, God. Amen and amen.
In unity, we take every opportunity to bless our love offerings and make a sacred ritual of giving. We let Spirit guide us in all our affairs. We affirm abundance for ourselves, for this work, and for all humanity. So let us take our offering in our hands and bless it with our offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive.
Thank you for these gifts that you have given so lovingly. They shall be used to continue our efforts here to benefit those from within and without as we carry our renewed selves out into the world to help others find their way. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. It certainly was questionable last night. Yeah. And I had a few texts come in that certain people were not going to make it because of the weather. And it wasn't so much the weather, but what the weather had done to their driveways. I don't know if there are any refreshments downstairs or not. There might be a few things, but whatever there is, it will be a mighty feast. And please feel free to take part in it.
There is always coffee.
There's always coffee. And tea. Everyone, we thank everyone. And there are people who were here this morning putting salt down, who were cleaning up, people who unlocked the doors early. And it just takes everyone to be fixers and doers and movers. And it's a constant. And your love that brought you here today is so appreciated. Hopefully today you've been given some food for thought, a different perspective on the bridges you've encountered. Don't ever feel that you need to quit because something isn't working out when you're trying so hard on it. You know, Jesus approached the fishermen in the boat, and he didn't say, quit, go back to shore, you're done. He said, throw your nets to the other side. You might need to change your approach to what you're trying to accomplish. Gratitude is everything, and we are grateful. Let's rise and do our peace circle.